But my name is Jason, and I'm here to share with you JEDx, an initiative of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation, whose goal is to, at utility scale, improve data about jobs and the workers in those jobs. This effort started back in 2017 with JEDx, where we tried to develop a data standard to improve how employers signal what's inside of a job. Better, faster, clearer signals. That work complemented another effort in the T3 Innovation Network, which was focused on how to develop data standards for employment records. We've combined that work since 2021 to form JEDx, data about the job and data standards for employment records. And now we're supporting their adoption and implementation. And we've formed a 7-state partnership to help us think through how to implement these data standards with the private sector. There are many different use cases that get unlocked if we do this successfully. The first is it will revolutionize how employers share data with government agencies. It will also vastly improve job description and job posting data, and it can empower workers with data about their employment history. Project One is really important because if we revolutionize how employers share data about jobs and the workers in those jobs with government, it unlocks the value proposition. It's the incentive. It reduces burden and cost for reporting while dramatically improving the quality and the value of the data that results. So we're starting with that use case. And why now? Many different reasons. We know the data we have is very incomplete. We have too many collection systems. We have a growing interest in evidence-based policy, but very poor data when it comes to employment outcomes. We know as states and the federal government are going to modernize their data infrastructure, we may be doubling down on an inefficient infrastructure. Right now, if you're an employer in a single state reporting to a single program like unemployment insurance, it looks something like this. One collection agency pulling data from all the employers and sharing it with multiple agency partners. But we know the world's not so simple. Here's unemployment insurance and new hire databases. 2 different collection systems where employers have to report data frequently, sometimes even the same data that then gets farmed out to different government users. But the real world we live in is the next one, where we begin to see the real complexity, where we have over 200 state and federal data collection systems that are drawing data from employers that's being farmed out to a variety of different users. You can imagine the amount of burden and cost this imposes on the private sector, creating mass fragmentation and siloing of the data that results. So what's the system look like? It's highly fragmented, it's inconsistent with insufficient data. It's a very inefficient way, putting a ton of burden and cost on the employer community itself. The data is siloed and it's untimely. It's very hard to extract data from these sources, just trying to get it from Census or IRS. And what are the consequences? We do not have comparable data about jobs or employment outcomes across jurisdictions. The most important data that we need about outcomes is not available to us, especially to the people that need it most. And what this fragmentation is leading to is less than optimal decision-making on the public and private sector side. So our goal is to now support through JEDx implementation of data standards for jobs and employment records to create a more comprehensive, standardized way that employers organize, collect, and share this information. And we think this can be achieved in a multi-state public-private data trust. Right now, we have a team that's working on the data model, figuring out how data standards could be used to effectively organize all of the data held within our HR systems so that we could better share it out in a more standardized way. We have a team that's also working on the APIs and other system architecture features. So it's not just organization, but how are we sharing the data to a data lake that can support a dynamic application marketplace serving both public and private interests, not just any individual government program. So we're building out the system architecture to make that happen. We think this would be a novel public-private approach for how we create and share data and benefit from it. That'll be more standardized, consistent, have higher quality data with more frequent reporting and better access, public and private sector access. That's the value proposition for my community. We want to go from the left to the right. Our current state is high cost, low value data. And through data standards, we're hoping to move either incrementally or dramatically to the right, where we could unlock low cost, high value data. We know the value proposition is there. We just have to figure out where do we want to start. So where are we today? We're working with the 7 state partners that I mentioned, and we've had 2 technical work groups that are really the meat of this work. One is focused on use cases and data priorities, and the other one on system architecture. We need to pick and choose our battles in terms of where do you start, how much data do you standardize and share, and we have that report coming out next month. Lastly, I want to share the Research Enrichment Project because a parallel effort we have is bringing economic researchers, statisticians, and program evaluators together to say what are the research questions that could be answered with JEDx data if we're successful. And they've begun to identify a wide variety of use cases around supply-demand analysis, around program evaluation, by answering questions about our labor market that we cannot answer today. So we think JEDx is a very important innovation. It's kind of our moonshot, but we believe it could be done in a public-private way, and it could be done with your partnership. So I encourage you to learn more. And if you'd like to be part of this data transformation, please do reach out to me and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation. And I thank you for your time this afternoon.